Stop. Don't breathe. Don't reach for the remote. Don't even let your eyes drift from this screen for the next 8 seconds, because what I am about to lay out for you right now is the kind of weekend nobody, and I mean nobody, in the entire boxing world or the hip-hop world saw coming until the suitcase opened twice and told on its owner louder than a courtroom microphone with the gain cranked all the way up. Claressa Shields was not whispered about in a back room. She was not subtweeted by a Finsta. She was not sources say. She was photographed. She was timestamped. She was geolocated. She was outfit repeated in 4K resolution 2 nights in a row, on 2 different ends of the same city, in front of 2 different cameras, at 2 different events that were never supposed to share a guest list or a zip code. And the cherry sitting on top of this entire melted sundae of mess is that Remy Ma, the one woman whose name keeps echoing in the background of this whole circus, did not even have to lift a finger, did not have to bend a knee, did not have to lift her phone off the charger, did not have to so much as roll over in bed. The receipts walked themselves to the witness stand, raised their right hand, swore on the Bible, and started reading the diary out loud, page by page, paragraph by paragraph, embarrassing line by embarrassing line, with a court stenographer typing every syllable. So buckle whatever you have left to buckle, because tonight we are pulling back every single layer of the dirtiest, sloppiest, most disrespectfully timed Mother's Day weekend ambush that hip-hop and women's boxing have served up to the general public in over 10 full years of messy headlines. And I promise you on every grandmother in your family tree, by the time we reach the part about the same black dress showing up at 2 completely different events 2 nights apart in 2 different boroughs, you're going to text 3 of your friends in the group chat just to make sure they are sitting down with a glass of water before they scroll any further into this nonsense. Welcome back to the family, the only corner of the internet that does not flinch, does not blink, does not soften the edges, does not whisper when the situation deserves a megaphone with the volume cranked all the way up to 11. If you are brand new around here, hit that subscribe button right this second, not in 5 minutes, not after this video, not I'll come back to it later. Right now, while the muscle memory is still fresh in your thumb, because the algorithm has a funny little habit of burying stories with this much heat under 3 layers of stale news from last year that nobody is even arguing about anymore. Everything I am about to say is alleged, personal commentary, opinion-based, entertainment in nature, no defamation intended toward any human being named or not named tonight in this room. Now grab the snacks. Pour the tea. Mute the television. Tell the dog to lay down on his bed. And let me walk you, slowly room by room, hallway by hallway, through the messiest crime scene we have seen all year long. Set the scene with me. Set it in full color. Surround sound. Stadium lighting. Cinematic close-ups. A drone shot for the establishing wide. This was supposed to be a victory weekend. The kind of weekend champions sit up at 4 in the morning daydreaming about back when they were teenagers eating gas station sandwiches between sparring rounds in cold gyms with no heat and a busted water fountain in the corner. Not one professional obligation, but a full stacked deck, back-to-back-to-back commitments, each one bigger than the last, each one paying real folding money, each one feeding the same legacy she has been carefully building since the Olympic stage was just a dream taped to her bedroom wall with masking tape. A major promotional fight night down in Atlanta on a Saturday. A full hometown appearance scheduled for Sunday at Mooney's Hibachi Grill in Flint, Michigan. Flint, the city that raised her. The city that scraped pennies together to buy paper tickets. The city that prayed for her before the rest of the world even bothered to learn how to pronounce her name correctly on national television. Then a midweek museum honor in New York City, the kind of moment they carve into the history books with a chisel and a prayer, and a candle burning in the corner of the room until sunrise. So what did the self-proclaimed greatest woman of all time choose to do with that perfectly stacked, beautifully scheduled, professionally booked weekend handed to her on a silver platter? She vanished. Not late, not delayed, not weather-grounded, not stuck in traffic on the way to the airport, not my flight got canceled at the last minute. Vanished. Like a magician's assistant who forgot to come back out of the box at the end of the trick when the curtain dropped and the music swelled. Atlanta? Empty chair at the press table with a name card sitting in front of nobody. Flint? Empty stage at the Hibachi Grill where the rice was already steaming on the flat top. Mooney's? empty parking spot in the lot where her name was on the reserve sign, and the staff was running back and forth with extra silverware folded into napkins. No tweet. No apology video filmed in the back of an Uber stuck on the BQE in bumper-to-bumper traffic. No quick little Instagram story explaining anything to anyone. No surrogate sent in her place to wave at the crowd. No statement from her team. No guys, I'm so sorry, I'll make it up to you next month with a meet and greet. Just nothing. Silence. The expensive, embarrassing, professionally damaging kind of silence that costs promoters real money and costs the fans their faith in a champion they came up rooting for since the very beginning of her amateur run. 2 contractually expected commitments dropped from the schedule like wet napkins on a marble floor, and 2 crowds of actual paying human beings standing around in 2 different states wondering if they had the date wrong on their phone calendar or if they should ask for a refund. Meanwhile, the man behind her brand, her promoter Dimitri Salita, was in Atlanta on Saturday night doing her job for her. Smiling for her press. Answering her reporters. Holding the microphone she abandoned without warning or a phone call. The next night, he flies to New York City to stand next to her at the American Museum of Natural History. Yes, you heard that right the first time. The museum, the same building with the dinosaur skeletons hanging from the ceiling and the meteorites under glass, and the school field trip snaking through the lobby with their permission slips, where her championship belt has been placed on permanent display next to the Stanley Cup. Next to NFL championship rings, next to PGA trophies, next to the kind of hardware most professional athletes never see in their entire lifetimes outside of a museum glass case behind velvet rope. A career-cementing, legacy-stamping, generation-defining moment. The kind of honor you mentally rehearse a thank you speech for in the bathroom mirror at 3 a.m. the night before it happens with the curlers still in your hair. And on the night before that historic moment, where was she? Not in a hotel room calling her mother in happy tears with the speakerphone on. Not in a quiet steakhouse with her team going over the schedule one more time with a yellow highlighter. Not memorizing thank yous in a hotel robe in front of a mirror with the lights dimmed to amber. Not asleep at a reasonable hour with her phone face down on the nightstand and a glass of room temperature water on the table beside it. She was in New York City. Days early. Days too early. Days that do not add up on any calendar made by any human being on any planet in any galaxy any astronomer has ever found. Days that raise the kind of eyebrow you can feel from across the room without even turning your head 1 inch. And the reason those days do not add up is the smoking gun in this entire story, and we are about to walk right up to that gun together and squeeze the trigger with our own 4 hands while the cameras keep rolling on the tripod. Here is where this story does not just thicken, it curdles, it separates. It develops that funky little film on top that lets you know somebody left the milk out overnight on the kitchen counter underneath the warm window in July. Because Claressa Shields, a born and raised Michigan woman with deep roots planted firmly in the Midwest, had no professional reason on God's green earth to be physically present in New York City on a Saturday night 2 days before her museum ceremony. The museum ceremony was scheduled for the middle of the work week. A Sunday night flight would have given her a full day of buffer to rest her body and steam her clothes. A Monday morning flight would have been more than comfortable for her schedule and her stylist's schedule. But there she was, 2 full nights ahead of schedule, in a city she did not need to be in yet, at an event she had no documented public interest in attending, attached to a guest list she was never written onto in the first place by anybody with a pen, an invitation, or a clipboard. A surprise pop-up reggae concert, featuring Stephanie Mills. The legendary, the iconic, the multi-decade Stephanie Mills, the voice behind classics that have been spinning in barbershops and beauty salons and Sunday kitchens since before half of us were even born and the other half were still in diapers. Read that sentence again, slowly, with your whole chest, because the sentence is doing more talking than I am right now. A reggae concert, featuring an artist celebrated for decades by an entire culture that Claressa Shields has, in her entire public-facing professional career, never once name-dropped on a podcast, never once shouted out from a stage, never once posted a single lyric of on a slow Sunday morning when the world was quiet and the coffee was hot. No Caribbean flags in her grid. No Marley quotes in her captions. No reggae playlists shared on her stories. No Stephanie Mills tagged photos anywhere on the entire app. Not even a single concert appearance of remotely this style or genre in her social media archives going back nearly a full decade of public posting and personal branding. Crickets. Tumbleweeds. A whole entire desert of nothing rolling across the screen. So riddle me this one, with a straight face if you can manage to keep it together. Why did a Michigan boxer with 2 abandoned bookings burning behind her like a trail of gasoline soaked into the carpet land in New York 48 hours early and end up, of all the places in all the boroughs of all the venues in all the city, in the audience of a pop-up reggae show she has never once expressed one single ounce of interest in for one solitary second of her entire adult life on this earth? I am going to tell you why. Lean in. Bring the camera close. Press your ear to the speaker grill. Because the answer is so embarrassing it is going to make you cover your face with both hands and peek out through the fingers like a kid watching a horror movie they were not supposed to be up for past their bedtime. Because allegedly, and I do mean allegedly, with a capital A and 1,000 legal asterisks attached to the back of every single syllable, Remy Ma's husband, the same Papoose who has built 2 decades of his entire public persona on the back of the phrase golden love, the same Papoose who used to write whole freestyles about how solid his marriage is to anybody who would put a microphone in front of his mouth. The same Papoose who calls his wife fireproof on every podcast that puts a chair in front of him and a soft light over his head, was reportedly at that very same reggae concert in the box suite, with his family, his mother, his sisters, his niece, the women who raised him from a kid in short pants. A Mother's Day family gathering. A sacred, private, in the bloodline kind of evening. The kind of evening a grown black man plans for the women who sat in the back of every courtroom for him during the worst weeks of his life, who sent him commissary money when nobody else was answering the phone, who prayed for him back when his name was just 3 syllables nobody in the industry recognized yet on a flyer taped to a deli window. And there she was, uninvited, unrelated, outside the bloodline, outside the marriage license. Outside the invite list. Outside the entire orbit of that family unit by 1,000 miles. Sitting in the same building as a Mother's Day gathering that had absolutely nothing to do with her on any level whatsoever, on any continent, on any planet, on any timeline in the multiverse. Why? Because the wedding anniversary of Remy and Papoose is sitting right around the corner of the calendar, knocking on the door like a bill collector who already knows you are home, and the lights are on, and the television is playing reruns. And she knew it. And the knowledge of it ate at her insides like rust on cheap metal in a damp basement during hurricane season. She could not, would not, allow Papoose to feel one full second of nostalgia for the woman who legally wears his last name in public on her driver's license. She could not risk a photograph of him standing next to his actual wife while a Stephanie Mills classic poured out of the speakers behind them in slow motion under the colored lights and the disco ball. She could not let that anniversary energy hit his bloodstream uninterrupted by her presence in the building. So she did what insecure people always do when they feel their grip slipping off a relationship they were never holding tightly in the first place. She crashed it. She forced herself into a moment that was never written with her name on the seating chart, and she did it knowing every cell phone camera in that building might catch her doing it in real time on a live stream with 70,000 viewers. Stop and think about how unhinged that is for one whole second of your day. You are a world champion. You have an Olympic gold medal in a frame on your wall above the mantle where everybody can see it when they walk in. You have a belt about to go on permanent display in an American museum next to the Stanley Cup. And the move you choose to make on the biggest career week of your entire professional life is to crash a reggae concert filled with another woman's blood relatives in a private suite? Make that math work on a chalkboard for me with the chalk and the eraser. Pull out the calculator. Pull out the whiteboard. Pull out the TED Talk. Pull out the diagrams. Pull out the pie charts and the bar graphs. You cannot. You will not. Because the math is not mathing tonight at all. The math will never math tomorrow either or next week. 2 plus 2 does not equal a Stephanie Mills concert in a borough you do not live in on a holiday weekend you were not invited to attend by anybody with a working pen. This was not coincidence. This was not a vibe. This was not, oh wow, small world after all. This was an ambush. Planned. Plotted. Calendared. Sticky noted to the bathroom mirror in 3 colors of ink. Executed with the precision of a chess grandmaster, lining up checkmate 4 full moves out, and carried out with the desperation of a woman watching her sandcastle wash out with the tide while she tries to scoop wet sand back into a tower with her bare bleeding hands at sunset on an empty beach with the seagulls circling. And here's the part where Claressa Shields, bless her heart, bless her belts, bless her Olympic gold medal, told on herself harder than any blogger, any podcast, any nosy Instagram gossip page in the history of the internet ever could have on their best day with their best sources. Because when you ambush another woman's family event in a city across multiple state lines on a holiday weekend, you do not have time to pack a suitcase properly. You do not lay outfits out neatly on the bed the night before with the shoes lined up underneath in a row. You do not coordinate your accessories carefully with little post-it notes. You do not steam the dresses on a hanger by the bathroom. You do not check the suitcase twice before zipping it closed and lifting it off the bed. You grab whatever is folded on the chair, whatever is clean from the laundry pile, whatever is closest to the open zipper of the bag on the floor. And you run for the airport like the smoke alarm just went off in the kitchen behind you and the cat is hiding under the couch with the dust bunnies. Pull up the first photograph on your phone right now. Saturday night, New York City. A black dress, fitted just so, hugging her frame in every spot she clearly wanted hugged tightly. Red glasses perched on the bridge of her nose like she stepped out of a remake of a Spike Lee summertime joint shot on real Kodak film with the grain visible. A red handbag clutched tight against her hip like she was guarding state secrets and the nuclear codes inside it. Red kitten heels strapped onto her feet with the little buckles. Honestly, cute outfit. I will give the credit where the credit is due, because I do not believe in hating on a cohesive color story when one walks past me on the sidewalk in good lighting. The styling worked. The accessories matched. The whole thing came together as a complete, photographable, magazine-worthy, editorial spread-worthy look. But the look had a contract. The look was meant to walk out the door one single time. One night, one event, one photograph. That was the unspoken agreement that dress signed when she pulled it off the hanger and stuffed it into her carry-on at the last minute as she was rushing out the door of her hotel room with one earring still at her hand and the other one hanging from her ear. Now slide your eyes over to the second photograph. Monday night, 2 whole nights later. The American Museum of Natural History. The biggest career honor of her entire professional life to date by a country mile. Her championship belt being placed in a glass case next to the Stanley Cup forever and ever and ever. Cameras flashing in every direction. Press standing by with their notebooks open and their pens uncapped and their voice recorders running. Her promoter beaming behind her like a proud parent at a graduation ceremony. The historic moment getting locked permanently into the timeline of the sport on every cable news channel and every sports blog. The same black dress, stitch for stitch, seam for seam, hemline for hemline. The exact same wrinkles in the exact same spots from sitting folded in the exact same suitcase for 48 straight hours in a row on a hotel luggage rack by the window. The only wardrobe adjustment was a swap from red kitten heels to a pair of thigh-high boots. That is it. That is the entire pivot. The whole wardrobe change. A pair of boots and a prayer, and a hope nobody on the entire internet would notice the recycled fabric in 2 different lighting conditions and 2 different angles. A Hail Mary thrown in the 4th quarter of a game she was already losing on the scoreboard by 3 full touchdowns and a field goal. Do you understand what this actually means? Do you really, truly, deeply, in the marrow of your bones, in the chambers of your heart, comprehend the full weight of this picture? Claressa Shields, a world champion, an Olympic gold medalist, a woman whose belt is now sitting next to the Stanley Cup in a permanent American institution, showed up to the most important career night of her professional life, wearing a recycled outfit from 48 hours earlier. Why? Because she rushed to New York City days too early to babysit somebody else's husband on a holiday weekend, and her suitcase ended up paying the bill for her bad decisions in full with interest and a late fee tacked on. And it shows in her face. Zoom in on those museum photos. Zoom all the way in until the pixels start to break. Pause the video. Study the expression around the eyes and the corners of the mouth where the foundation is starting to crease. She looks tired. She looks stretched thin. She looks like a woman running on bad sleep, cold hotel coffee, and worse decisions for 72 straight hours in a row without a real meal or a real nap. At her own honors ceremony, at her own museum, at her own legacy moment. Make it make sense. Go ahead. I will sit right here and wait patiently. Pour myself another cup of something hot with steam coming off the top. Make it make sense for me, one piece at a time. Now swing the spotlight a few degrees to the left of where it has been pointing for the last 15 minutes. Because there is a co-villain in this story, and his name has been hovering over every single paragraph for the last 15 minutes like a storm cloud over a parade route. Papoose. Do not let anybody in your comment section, do not let anybody in your group chat, do not let any blogger with a Twitter thread try to twist this story into one woman behaved badly while the husband stood there blameless with his hands in his pockets, whistling at the ceiling tiles. That is not the story. That has never been the story. That will never be the story going forward into next year, or the year after that either. Dimitri Salita, her promoter, a man with absolutely no romantic stake whatsoever in any of this entire situation, a man paid in dollars and cents to show up for his fighter and clock in like everybody else with a job, posted a beautiful, heartfelt, professionally written tribute when the museum honor happened on Monday. Called her a once-in-a-generation athlete in public on the timeline. Called her a global inspiration in front of the press cameras. Celebrated her with exactly the kind of language a champion of her caliber should hear on a night that big and that historic. He did what a teammate is supposed to do, and he did it with grace and dignity and a steady hand on the rudder. And Papoose? The man who supposedly loves her in the shadows? The man who allegedly whispers sweet nothings into her phone past midnight when his wife is asleep in the other room down the hall. The man who calls his marriage golden love on every podcast microphone he can find a chair next to in any borough of any city. Nothing. Not a post. Not a story. Not a quiet little tag in a comment thread. Not a single emoji on a public photograph. Not even a like that anybody on the entire internet can publicly verify with a screenshot or a screen recording on their phone. Silence, so loud it is rattling the window panes from across town and shaking the dishes in the cabinet above the stove. Now flip that coin over. Examine the other side carefully under the light bulb. When Remy Ma had an actual physical street named after her in the Bronx, a literal, physical, permanent, government-sanctioned honor carved into the side of New York City forever and ever and ever and ever, Papoose was front row. Filming every single second of it with his own phone in his own hand with the screen brightness all the way up. Standing shoulder to shoulder with Fat Joe like a man on Cloud 9 and Cloud 10 combined into one big fluffy cloud. Hyping his wife up with a kind of unfiltered, unchoreographed, uncalculated joy you simply cannot fake on camera no matter how many takes you get or how good your director is behind the monitor. Smiling like a man who knew exactly which side of the line he was standing on and intended to keep both feet planted firmly there for the rest of his natural-born life on this planet Earth. But when Claressa hits her own biggest career moment in years, crickets. Not a courtesy clap. Not a low-effort repost. Not a screenshot. Not a winking emoji. Not a thumbs up. Not even a fire emoji or a heart. Cold. Dead. Empty. Air. This is the man Claressa Shields is allegedly dismantling her entire career for. This is the man she is allegedly missing paychecks for. This is the man she is allegedly tracking through reggae concerts across state lines for on a holiday weekend in another woman's family suite. And he cannot, will not, refuses to post one single solitary Instagram story for her historic museum night when the cameras were all there? Sir, with the deepest possible respect a person can muster up from the bottom of their soul, sir. Papoose, you are not the bystander in this story. You are not the victim of circumstance. You are not the poor confused man caught in the middle of two women squabbling over your attention like a pair of children fighting over a stuffed animal in a daycare. You are a married man entertaining chaos in broad daylight on a holiday weekend, allowing the disrespect to compound week after week after week after week, never once publicly correcting the narrative, never once protecting your wife's name in the streets, never once shutting down the speculation, never once drawing a clear public line in the sand for the entire world to see with their own two eyes. You are part of this problem. A big part. Maybe the biggest part of the whole machine humming in the corner of the room. And every single day you stay silent about it. The louder your silence becomes in the ears of every single person paying attention to the situation from the outside looking in through the window. And then, through all the smoke and all the dust and all the chaos and all the wrinkled repeat dresses and all the empty Instagram tribute posts, there she is. Remy Ma, the actual, undeniable, undisputed queen of this entire story from the first frame to the last credit rolling up the screen. While Claressa was running through Manhattan in a recycled outfit, ambushing family events she was not on the guest list for, blowing off paying fans who had already bought their tickets weeks in advance with money they could have spent on groceries, and chasing nostalgia she was never invited to share in the first place, Remy Ma was home. Composed. Quiet. Dignified. Probably sipping a hot cup of something with honey stirred into it slowly, with a tiny spoon. Probably folding laundry on the couch in front of a movie she has already seen twice and remembers every line of. Probably braiding her daughter's hair while a candle burned low in the kitchen and the dishwasher hummed its little tune. A mother. A wife. A legend. A woman with absolutely nothing left to prove to anybody who has been paying attention for the past 2 decades of her professional career in this game called hip-hop. Remy Ma has not said one single word about any of this publicly. Not one syllable. Not one tweet. Not one story. Not one comment under a post. Because she does not have to say anything at all. The truth is doing the press tour on her behalf without her ever opening her mouth 1 inch wider than necessary to sip her tea quietly. The receipts are sitting down for the interviews on her behalf. The same black dress is writing the column for the morning paper. The empty Instagram tribute page is publishing the open letter for the world to read out loud over breakfast. The unposted museum congratulations is signing the headline in bold letters across the top of the page in size 72 font. Remy did not skip her own obligations. Remy did not chase anybody across state lines on a holiday weekend. Remy did not repeat outfits at major events because she was too busy tracking down somebody else's husband. Remy built a career from the ground up brick by brick by brick. Built a family from scratch. Built a name in the streets. Built a legacy that will outlive most of us in this room tonight. Built a literal street with her government name carved into the green sign at the corner of the avenue forever. And she is still building right now as we speak. Still climbing the ladder. Still moving the needle. Still showing up to her own commitments on time and dressed appropriately for the occasion. While the other woman is over here begging for crumbs and getting silence in return, like Christmas morning at the Grinch's house up on top of Mount Crumpet with the wind howling outside the door. That is the difference between a wife and a whoever she is. That is the difference between a legacy and a distraction. That is the difference between a queen and a circus act with mismatched outfits and a tired suitcase on wheels. That is the difference between a woman who gets a street named after her in the borough she calls home and a woman who gets a Twitter thread named after her in a city she does not even live in. That is the difference between standing on solid concrete with both feet flat on the ground and sinking in quicksand with thigh-high boots on while the tide rolls in around your knees. Remy Ma, if you are watching this clip and we know somebody in your circle will eventually show you this clip on their phone at some point in the next 24 hours, you do not owe a single soul on this entire planet a single syllable of explanation. The receipts are speaking on your behalf in every language ever spoken. The same dress is speaking on your behalf in stitches and seams. The empty post grid is speaking on your behalf in negative space and blank squares. The reggae concert is speaking on your behalf in bass lines and harmonies. You already won this entire situation before half of us even knew it had started kicking up dust in the driveway out front. Let me tell you what this situation actually is. Underneath all the receipts. Underneath the photographs. Underneath the press releases. Underneath the hashtag drama and the comment sections and the Twitter spaces and the Instagram lives and the podcast hot takes and the YouTube reaction videos and the TikTok think pieces. This is not love. This is not golden love. This is not fireproof love. This is not even a regular old situationship that went sideways at the wrong intersection on the wrong night with the wrong person in the wrong car on the wrong rideshare app. This is something far smaller and far sadder than any of that. This is desperation wearing thigh-high boots and pretending the boots are armor against the truth that is closing in fast. This is insecurity disguised in red kitten heels and red prescription glasses bought from the optometrist last month with a coupon. This is a woman so terrified of fading from the spotlight, so allergic to the idea of being yesterday's news in tomorrow's headlines, so afraid of disappearing into the boxing background like an out-of-focus extra in somebody else's blockbuster movie, that she is willing to embarrass herself on a global stage in 4K resolution just to keep tabs on a man who will not even repost her championship belt sitting next to the Stanley Cup on a Tuesday morning over coffee. And Papoose. Let me say it one more time so the people in the very back row of the cheap seats can hear me clearly with no microphone problems and no audio cutting out at the worst possible second. You're not slick at all. You do not get to play the devoted family man card while letting another woman ambush your own Mother's Day weekend in front of your sisters and your niece in a private suite of a venue. You do not get to call something golden love in podcast interviews and then go pin drop silent on her biggest career moment of the entire year when the lights came on and the press showed up. You are using this woman for the attention boost. She is using your marriage for the relevance check. And Remy Ma, God bless her patient soul, is the only grown adult in the entire equation, and she did not even have to lace her boots up to win the round on all 3 scorecards from all 3 judges. 2 villains. 1 queen, 1 ambush Mother's Day weekend, 1 recycled black dress, 1 museum honor wasted on a wrinkled outfit pulled from a suitcase, 1 reggae concert she was never invited to attend by anybody with a clipboard, 1 street already named after the wife in the Bronx. That is the real story. That is the whole story. That is the only story worth telling, top to bottom, front to back, beginning to end, with the volume turned all the way up so the back row of the auditorium can hear every word loud and clear without straining a single ear or cupping a single hand behind it. So let's recap, slowly one final time, for the back of the class that came in late and missed the first half of the lecture and is just now opening their notebooks. Claressa Shields skipped 2 professional obligations in 2 different cities on the exact same weekend. Flew to New York City days early, days plural, not hours plural, for a midweek museum honor that did not require her body in that city until Monday at the absolute earliest. Showed up uninvited to a family reggae concert featuring an artist she has 0 documented history of caring about for 1 second of her public-facing life going back nearly a decade of posts on every platform. Wore the exact same black dress to 2 completely different events 48 hours apart because her suitcase did not get the memo about packing properly for the entire trip from Friday to Tuesday. And Papoose could not be bothered to post a single thing about her biggest career moment of the year, but filmed every blessed second of his wife getting a street named after her in the Bronx, with Fat Joe standing right there next to him, hyping the whole entire thing up like it was a championship parade with confetti cannons and a marching band. The math is mating tonight, baby. And it is not mating in Claressa's favor on any column of the ledger anywhere on the page or in the margins. It is not mating in Papoose's favor either, no matter how creatively you stack the numbers or how many calculators you bring to the table or how many accountants you put on the case. The only person the math is mating for tonight is the woman sitting at home not saying a single word out loud, sipping her tea, watching her daughter sleep on the couch, and letting the receipts do the heavy lifting for her quietly in the background. If you are tired, bone tired, marrow tired, soul tired, of grown women chasing other women's husbands across state lines on holiday weekends like it is a part-time job with benefits and a 401k attached and dental coverage, drop a crown emoji in the comments right now for Remy Ma. If you think Papoose is just as guilty as Claressa in this whole sloppy production from top to bottom of the credits, drop a red flag emoji underneath the crown. And if you want part 2 of this story, because trust me, family, there are more receipts loading in the chamber, more sources whispering in the back channels, more screenshots brewing in the group chats, more flight records being quietly pulled by people with badges and clearance levels. Smash that like button until it turns blue and falls off the screen entirely. Subscribe with your whole entire chest. And turn those notifications on like your peace of mind depends on hearing the next chapter. The very second it drops out of the oven. Because this story is not over yet by a long shot. This story is just beginning to crack down the middle, like an egg on a hot skillet at breakfast time on a Sunday morning. I will see you in the very next one. Stay messy. Stay smart. Stay paying attention to the receipts as they come in over the wire. Stay loyal to the people who would never in a million years ambush somebody's mama on Mother's Day weekend just for clout and a few thousand impressions on a post. And always, always remember, the truth always comes out in the wash sooner or later, no matter how long it takes. Or in this case, in the same black dress, twice on 2 different nights in 2 different boroughs of New York City, with the entire internet watching every single wrinkle in 4K resolution with the subtitles on and the volume maxed all the way out and the brightness cranked. The whole borough is still talking about it on every corner. You can replay the footage frame by frame, and the story stays the same. Every screenshot in the group chat is screaming the same chorus. The timestamps line up like dominoes ready to fall in sequence. Even the security cameras at the venue would corroborate every word of it. The flight manifests, the seat numbers, the airport selfies, all of it. Read the metadata on the photos, and the truth stares back at you. The receipts are filed, notarized, and stamped in red ink already. Every grown woman watching this story knows exactly what I am talking about. And the cameras caught every inch of it on tape for the timeline. The whole borough is still talking about it on every corner. You can replay the footage frame by frame, and the story stays the same. Every screenshot in the group chat is screaming the same chorus. The timestamps line up like dominoes ready to fall in sequence. Even the security cameras at the venue would corroborate every word of it. The flight manifests, the seat numbers, the airport selfies, all of it. Read the metadata on the photos, and the truth stares back at you. The receipts are filed, notarized, and stamped in red ink already. Every grown woman watching this story knows exactly what I am talking about. And the cameras caught every inch of it on tape for the timeline. The whole borough is still talking about it on every corner. You can replay the footage frame by frame, and the story stays the same. Every screenshot in the group chat is screaming the same chorus. The timestamps line up like dominoes ready to fall in sequence. Even the security cameras at the venue would corroborate every word of it. The flight manifests, the seat numbers, the airport selfies, all of it. Read the metadata on the photos, and the truth stares back at you. The receipts are filed, notarized, and stamped in red ink already. Every grown woman watching this story knows exactly what I am talking about. And the cameras caught every inch of it on tape for the timeline. The whole borough is still talking about it on every corner. You can replay the footage frame by frame, and the story stays the same. Every screenshot in the group chat is screaming the same chorus. The timestamps line up like dominoes ready to fall in good night, family. Lock your doors before bed tonight. Kiss your husbands twice on the cheek, just for good measure. Hug your mama on the phone in the morning before you do anything else. Tip your delivery driver an extra $1 tomorrow when he brings the food to the porch. And check your suitcases twice before the next trip, because Claressa? She is still out there somewhere wandering around in those thigh-high boots. Her suitcase is still half empty on the floor of some hotel room. And the truth is still way louder tonight than her silence ever was on her loudest day in the spotlight.